What's up? It's Vince. I got a quick one here. Jeff Cup 2023, rainy conditions, and hopefully you can learn a couple of lessons from this. Every race has a story, and the story of this race is the worst legs I've ever raced on. That's me dropping a bottle and things going from bad to worse. That was my carb bottle. 120 grams of carbs in there with water from my other bottle, and I dropped the carb bottle on lap 1. The day prior was Charlottesville Crit, where I did 2 races and I didn't refuel properly after the races. And I think every cyclist has made this mistake at one point or another, but I'm going to learn that lesson the hard way today. So what I quickly figured out on the day is I can't win the sprint. I just didn't have the legs to do it. Anytime I would go over 400 watts, I started to fatigue extremely quickly, and I couldn't get my heart rate very high. However, threshold efforts, maybe 300 to 330, didn't feel so bad. And so while I would normally classify myself as a sprinter, that's how I get my best results, is usually by sitting in and sprinting, I have to change it up today. I could have easily packed it in and went home or just sat in the bunch, but I paid my entry fee and I'm going to race in a way that gives me the best chance to win. So you're going to see me try and race for breakaways instead. That dog looked really excited to be a part of the race, but that's a downhill section where we're flying. So by some miracle, nobody went down. I mean, I'm on rim brakes with carbon wheels in the wet, so I can barely stop as it is. And after the next turn, the guy in front of me yells it out to the officials. I guess the race officials took care of it because we never saw that dog again. So a little bit about the course. This course is the hilliest race in the area. The front of the course is mostly downhill and the back of the course is mostly uphill. There's not too many races with sustained climbs, and I know these aren't proper climbs. You'll have to go to the mountains of North Carolina to get anything like that. But I'd call them more rolling hills. But the finishing hill is about 5%, and it'll only be a minute 15 or so on the final lap, so it's basically still a long sprint. Whoever's the highest watt per kg in the last minute should win the sprint, assuming they're in good position for it. And like I said, that won't be me on this day. I just don't have the legs for it. So I wait until lap 3 to make any moves. Nothing promising has really happened yet. I know that I'm going to need a Kelly Benefits rider and a Miller School rider to come with me. Miller is in the blue ahead. Kelly is attacking right there on the left. And that's because those are the 2 dominant teams in this race. And if either of them miss the break, they'll send guys to the front to control the break. So there was a little group that got away in this section, and the Kelly Benefits rider started chasing them down because they missed it. And this is a really fun downhill section, very fast. I'm following wheels, and the race is getting strung out behind. I think the back half of the course is definitely the better place to attack since it's uphill. There's too much benefit of the draft in the front half of the course. Over 40 miles an hour on this downhill, naturally there will be some gaps opening up. I'm not interested in descending while being right in the guy's wheel ahead of me for safety reasons, obviously. But I am being set up for a perfect counterattack here as the road levels off and the 2 groups come together. I have momentum and space on the outside. The Miller School kid is looking behind right there, and I'm not going to hesitate to take the opportunity. So I launch a little attack here. 1,000 watts. I shut it down quickly now that I have a gap, and unfortunately nobody comes with me. And this is something I experience all too frequently. I'm not sure if I'm attacking too hard or I have to coordinate with other people to follow my wheel, but almost every time I throw an attack, nobody follows. And it's kind of frustrating because I want to start a break, not go solo. I'm not really strong enough to go solo, but I have no choice here. I'll commit to the effort and I'll see what happens. I am still hoping that ultimately some of individuals do jump across, but that's kind of outside of my control. So I'm settling into the effort and I'm looking back frequently, and the gap is growing very quickly. After I take this upcoming corner, within maybe 1 or 2 minutes, I was already completely out of sight of the peloton. And you know, as the saying goes, out of sight, out of mind. They're not going to forget about me, but the chase group does become more dysfunctional without that carrot in sight to remind them what they're chasing. So this is a very strange experience for me. I've never had it before. The only sign that I'm actually still racing is the motorcycle out in front of me. And I'm basically doing a solo threshold effort. Now I will have to moderate my effort because I'm going to need to hold it for the next 35 to 40 minutes. But I'm hoping that every time I look back, I see a small group of riders approaching rather than the entire peloton. So let's fast forward and see what happens. I've been off the front solo for 8 minutes now, and the peloton is finally back in sight. So I sagged this climb and unfortunately allowed them to catch me. They were gaining rapidly on me, and I have no interest in dangling 5 or 10 seconds ahead of the peloton while I'm working hard.
What? Everybody was really scared. I thought someone would come with me.
I'm really happy that I made the move though. So moving ahead to the finishing climb on lap number 3, and I'm nearly getting dropped here. I'm paying for the effort, and it's further reinforcing the idea that I just can't contest the sprint today. And luckily there's a few guys that jump in front of me to help close down the split in the field on the downhill. We do catch up with them. Little bottle there as we're going into bell lap. But I know the highest percentage move I can make is a late race attack. So we're going to jump ahead to the end of the race. We're a little over 2K to go, maybe 4 minutes or so to the finish. And this is a very dangerous time to attack in the race, especially on this course. It's mostly uphill from here, and guys do not want to ruin their sprint chasing down a solo rider. So there's often a big slowing of the peloton if nobody is off the front. Now I don't really have the space to squeeze in between the riders, so I do something I shouldn't do. Clearly over the yellow line, and that's what the peloton is screaming about. And I can't emphasize this enough. Don't do this. I could see there were no cars ahead, but I deserve to be relegated here, and I would have had no argument if I was. I'm not a huge fan of races with yellow line rules. I understand why it needs to exist on a race like this, because they can't shut down 10 miles of road, but I think it makes racing exponentially more dangerous on open roads. And I think cyclists have even been killed in the UK from going over the yellow line during a race. But it also makes the race exponentially more boring as well. I mean, there was literally 3 riders blocking the road ahead, not giving me the space to get around. I mean, that's ridiculous. I have to wait until I'm in the top 2 riders to attack. So, I mean, the majority of this race is just sitting in the bunch, and if you're 30 plus wheels deep, you can't even see what's going on ahead, let alone participate in anything tactically or with your teammates. Which is why I'm personally not opting to do any more races with yellow line rules. It's just not worth it to me. The exception is maybe races that have small fields. Like if you have less than 30 people with a yellow line race, it can still be dynamic, fun, and safe. But with, 50 or 80 riders, whatever, it just feels more dangerous and less satisfying than racing crits to me. Anyway, I am committed here. I'm all in on this effort. Nobody went with me again, and this is more of a VO2 effort. I do need to save some for the hill, but unfortunately when I'm checking back periodically, I'm being given a much smaller leash, way less than 10 seconds. The peloton is chasing hard, so I'm not making any progress. Caught here going into the final turn a little more than 2 minutes after I attacked. I do go into this turn third wheel, however I'm losing momentum and falling back quickly. So I give a little effort here to get back up to speed, and this is where I realize my race is completely over. I mean, I'm doing 700 watts and moving backwards, and my only goal now is to make it to the finish line safely. I can't move left because the cars, and there are a lot of guys that will be passing me on the right. So all I'm focused on is holding my line and trying to hold some power to reduce that speed differential. I'm not head checking behind or rocking my bike too hard side to side. I'm just trying to push whatever power I have left to reduce that speed differential to the other riders around me. So that's it for this one. I hope you took something away from this. The first thing is don't break the yellow line rule. And the second thing is take your best shot at winning. I think a lot of non-sprinters sit in, save their energy, and sprint for 20th place or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with doing that if you're safe about it during the sprint. But I think you're going to get more out of racing, test your limits, develop your fitness more, and ultimately have a good story to tell your friends if you just go for a move. I think you should always take your best shot at winning, and don't be shy about it. So this is my worst placing all year, and yet ironically, I was very happy with how I raced this race, given how bad my legs were. So that's it. I hope to make some BP videos here shortly. Hopefully I can get the most interesting BP races out from last year before the start of BP in 2024. And I'll leave you with where the real race is playing out. the race for 36th place in the baggage train. Peace out.
Number one?
I'll beat you.
Oh, fuck, I was joking.